This is Jay Michaels, and ladies and gentlemen, you know I've been immersed in the entertainment industry, particularly live events, particularly the theater, for years. And I have seen many shows come and go and come back, rewritten or reworked or something new about them. But this one particularly fascinated me. Dream on Baransky premiered at the American Theater of Actors. It opened, it had a very wonderful run, and it closed. There were comments, there were suggestions, etc. And they're back. And it's like what, 6 months later, if that much since the run. I am absolutely amazed. Uh, we have with us we have Amber Brooks and we have Jake Minter, the director. And Amber, what's your position here with the show?
I'm assistant director and I'm also one of the cast members.
Oh,
So
there
I'm
you go. Well, welcome to indie theater. I'm on stage, I'm backstage, I'm cleaning the stage, and
pretty
I'm
much.
by the stage later if I make money at it. Okay, so we have two of the guiding forces here, and I was really fascinated when Jessica Jennings told me Dream on Baransky is back. I was like, already a revival? No, they reworked it. Wow. Okay. Firstly, tell me all about the show. Let's get that much. Tell me about the show.
You want to go first?
Yeah, the show itself is a story about this financial guy who's in a little over his head with three women. But it's at the breaking point where he's having anxiety. He doesn't really have the vocabulary for anxiety yet. And he meets this doctor who really helps him open up and figure out where exactly his stress is coming from, which would be his terrible decision making. Um, and the doctor allows him to come into his little treatment plan with this magical pill that helps him start to solve some of the issues in the dream world. So hopefully it'll work out in the real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, it's definitely a story that incorporates mental health, infidelity, the way that we treat each other as human beings, relationships. It does lean a lot into the absurd. I would say the story itself has changed a lot as well since the first iteration. Like the ending is completely different, which is something that I felt very, very strongly about from the minute that I stepped into the production. Um, so yeah, it's definitely been a work in progress, and it's been a joy to be here from the beginning and to see it evolve into what it is now, for sure.
you're hearkening back to a subject people don't necessarily talk about. The last time I've even heard of a musical dealing with this was Lady in the Dark, which is somewhere in the 1930s. So you're taking some very hot button topics right now. We're all talking about pharmaceuticals. So
Mhm.
suddenly we have this magical pill that takes us into a dream world. Uh-oh, I could see so many parables right there. You're talking about uh, you're talking about the a sense of polyamory. Here's this guy who's stressed out because he can't decide on which one of his three women with. And ironically, there, if we're talking gender specific, you're making a big parable. You're turning to the Me Too movement and says, okay, what do you think of this? You're turning to so many popular culture themes right now with this and saying, okay, look at this, tell me what you think. So you're so brave on that level. That's number one. And number two, my big question to you, I've seen so many times someone will workshop a show, then they'll do a stage reading, then they'll do the 29-hour reading, then they'll do another workshop, then they'll do the showcase, whatever, then it goes up, then they bring it down, then there's another workshop, then it goes out of town, and then it comes back, etc. You have been so brave because you've said, okay, we're premiering it. Here it is in one of the more visible theaters in New York, the American Theater of Actors. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know the American Theater of Actors, it is one of the last of the original off-Broadway movement theaters. That La Mama, and frankly, that La Mama, I think, and maybe Theater for the New City are it of the great movement. So they picked this visible historical space, they put it in, they then rewrote it, and you think, okay, well, then they'll do a workshop somewhere, Open Jar Studios or something. No, they put it right back in that theater for another off-Broadway run. Okay. Are you brave, or did you take a pill and didn't realize what you did? Tell us about the decision to mount it, fix it, and then mount it again.
I think a lot of it for me comes back to, again, like I said, it's a different show this time. The ending is completely different. When I first read the script, there were a lot of things that stuck out to me that I didn't necessarily agree with as a woman, especially when you come back to talking about some of the relationships and the Me Too movement. And my biggest question for the writer was, what message are you trying to get across with this play? Because in the beginning, Jonathan, he's going through all of these relationships, he's confronting his commitment issues and figuring out what is causing him to have these mental health issues because of his infidelity and his lack of emotional intelligence in a way. But he still ended up with the woman that he loved and wanted to be with in the end. And for me, I didn't feel like he'd learned enough of a lesson. He hadn't had enough of an arc. And this is something that we discussed with the writers, and that we had a lot of back and forth about the message that we're trying to deliver to our audiences. And I felt very strongly that he shouldn't end up with anyone. I felt very strongly that his arc should be confronting his own issues to realize that, you know, he can't love another until he loves himself, and he's hurting other people because he hasn't healed enough. And the beauty of doing it this time around was that we got very similar feedback when we put it up the first time. A lot of the constructive criticism that we received from critics such as Jen Bush and other audience members were that they loved aspects of the show, like the surrealism, the dream to reality, all the things that make it unique, but they couldn't understand why this man that has done so many things kind of wrong and hurt so many people and has had to be really introspective still ends up sort of getting his cake and eating it. So one thing I really wanted to hammer home was to potentially change that ending and look into, okay, what happens if Jonathan doesn't get the woman that he wants to be with? What if he really just has to confront himself and what has taken him on this journey? And that's something that I'm really pleased that the writers were collaborative with us on this time, and they allowed us to step in, take a little more creative control and say, what happens if we change some things in his journey? And I think that was super important for me. I don't know if you have a,
No,
I know I was talking a lot.
That is absolutely fabulous. It's funny when you said he ends up with the woman he loves. My, the template in my brain said, "Oh, that's nice, a good happy ending." But no,
Yeah.
that's not the proper ending. That's not what the show should be about.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that is really incredible. That is really, really incredible. It's certainly whet my appetite for the production itself. I think that's really brilliant. And your decision, because you've made such monumental changes, your decision to do a full run seemed obvious then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you talk.
We took so much from the feedback forms, and we really just sat down and looked at how do we make this whole story sharper as it pertains to Jonathan? Because it is Jonathan's story as much as it is with the three women. It's more of somebody reflecting on their own actions and deciding to make a decision to choose what type of person they want to be in the world. And I think the further that we got closer to Jonathan, the easier it was to simplify a lot of the story, to make it a little more honed in, to take out some of the time and the length from last time. And you can make more of the scenes impactful for the audience that way, I think.
Yeah, there was so much content. Richard and Dale have wonderful imaginations, and there was so much going on last time that it was a lot. And to condense that and keep the messaging was also super important to us as well. So that's why we knocked an hour off the runtime, but we were still able to keep all of the important messaging that we wanted to share, and also stick with the writers and their, you know, it's their baby from the beginning, and we didn't want to veer away too much from their initial groundwork. But they were, you know, both very excited to do it again, and wanted, coming into this entire process, all they wanted is for the show to be successful and do well. And with these changes that we've made, we wanted to show the world the message that we wanted to convey, which is about men's mental health and talking about mental health and confronting feelings that can be difficult, and that it's okay to not be okay. And sometimes we go through weird processes until we find out what we need to heal. And it was just a real joy to be able to do that and bring it back and give the audience and the critics what they were asking for as well. You know,
that is terrific. Wow, that is terrific. And there are so few who are doing that. I see it in so many places, and I see it in innovative works where you go through the whole piece, film or stage work. You go through the whole piece and you say, oh, okay, they're going to end up together. No, he's going to, okay. And then it's something completely different. And after that initial shock of saying, oh, I don't know I didn't realize it would happen. So many times I say, but that's what it was in real life. Yeah. So you really took a musical and gave it a reality flavor at the end. That's brave. That's wonderful. All right. I know it closes October 22. So we're on the heels of its closing. Where can we get to see this?
We have performances throughout this week. So we're performing tonight at 7, tomorrow at 7, Friday at 7, Saturday at 7, and the last closing show will be the matinee at 3. So it'll be
we have like 5 more chances to see this.
Yeah, 5 more shows. 5 out. We're a third of the way through the run. Yeah.
Ironically, in the off-Broadway world, that's an entire run. So you have a really good
opportunity to get and see it for sure. Yeah,
indeed. And it's at the American Theater of Actors, which is on West 54th Street. And you can go to www.americantheaterofactors.org. And on there is a ticket link to see this. Am I correct on that? That's where we go for tickets, yes?
That, Cash on the Door, or Eventbrite, if you want to just search Dream on Baransky, any of those ways.
There was a TV show called Dream On, I think it was HBO, many years ago, and it did this sort of thing. It had someone who daydreamed what he wanted his life to be. So we're seeing this compilation of 2 very fascinating things: the notion of Lady in the Dark, the therapy musical, and Dream On, you know, the imagination kicking in. And we're seeing it in this really great musical format. Wow. Thank you so much. Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Now I understand. Now, okay. This is wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for the information. Have a great rest of the run. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Ciao.